Hey guys, so this is just a short video to quickly review the game versus Last Rites that we played last week. And primarily in this video, what I want to focus on is utility and our utility usage, which, to be honest, in this game was very, very poor. Now, that's somewhat excused by the fact that, we're still very much a new team and that kind of thing. We're figuring everything out. We don't really have a lot of strats, but that's partially on me. It's my job to be making strats for you guys and that kind of thing. But at the same time, we were playing Mirage. Everybody knows smokes, like, for example, over A on Mirage, over mid on Mirage, and there's probably a few people who know some stuff over B, but we didn't really use it. So if you see our utility usage, at least on the T side, I'm just going to talk about the T side primarily for a second. We didn't really throw a whole lot. It's like probably about 40 to 50 in total. And in particular, we threw very, very few flashes, only 15 flashes. Now, if we compare that, so this is all our nades that we threw right on the T side. If we compare that to the Last Rites T side, look at all the nades they threw. They threw fucking 71 flashes, like, and 58 smokes, which is kind of insane. Especially if you look, so they threw lots of flashes over A, lots of flashes over B, and a few over mid. One thing I want to focus on real quickly is look at the amount of flashes they're thrown into CT on this A side. So they're coming out A, and a lot of the time they're trying to take CT control, and that makes a lot of sense. It's something that you see a lot, especially at the pro level, actually, is when teams are taking this A side, they really focus on trying to take CT control away. Because if you take CT control and you probably still have RAM control, you're really isolating the CTs, forcing them to come from either jungle or connector, which you can effectively you can watch both basically, without really having to move around too much. Whereas with CT, you're watching basically two angles. So that's something that we could maybe focus on in the future if we play Mirage again, is taking CT control on these A executes, and a lot of that is going to come from flashing over into CT, which is exactly what Last Rites have done a lot here. Now, just switching back to ours, look what we have. We have one flash in a jungle and just fucking zero through to CT. We have two smokes, and that's it. Now, in fairness, we didn't get a full 15 rounds on the T side, so you could argue this isn't really entirely representative of what we would have done. But we still got a fair few rounds on the T side, and you would expect more nades than this, especially more than 15 flashes, more than 19 smokes. So yeah, just looking at theirs, like, it's insane what they did. Switching over to our CT side though, things still don't really get a whole lot better. We spent a full 15 rounds on the CT side, and we still didn't throw nearly as many nades as they did. We threw 20 flashes, far fewer smokes, which is weird. We should definitely be throwing way more smokes than that on the CT side. So this kind of whole concept of utility is like, the way I see it at my level of play, which is, face it, level 6, level 7, which is probably a little bit below what most of us are at, is there's kind of two types of people. There are those who hold on to their utility like their life depends on it. I don't know what the fuck they're waiting for. They just kind of hold on to it, and they usually end up dying with fucking, $500, $600 worth of utility in their inventory. And then there's people who just kind of throw their utility away for no reason at all. An example of that would be, like, I don't know, maybe you're on the A side here, and you've taken CT control or something, and your teammate's like here in CT, and you just flash deep CT without communicating anything to your teammate. So you've effectively just wasted the flash because your teammate's too far away to peek after it to check if deep CT is clear. So it's not really achieving anything. Yeah, if there's a CT here, it might hold them off for a second or two, but it doesn't really achieve anything for your team. It doesn't help you get anywhere. An example of a much better in the same scenario would be if your teammate's like close here and he calls for a flash, and then you flash him into deep CT so he can clear, this line down towards kitchen, towards jungle, towards deep CT spawn effectively. So communication is a big part of effective utility, especially when it comes to flashes. You guys should be calling for flashes, both on the T and the CT side. If you want to peek over middle, this is actually, in fairness, this is something I saw people doing, is calling for a flash over middle. Excuse me, if you want to peek over connector. So they're out top mid or something like that, and you say, okay, I'm gonna peek connector. Can one of these A players or the short player flash out middle for me to peek it? that's fine. That's really good. So that's an example of like, good utility usage, especially with the smokes. I don't really mind holding on to smokes and molotovs that much on the CT side, because if they're playing very slowly and running the clock down, holding on to smokes and molotovs can be really effective in the last, like, 30, 40 seconds of a round, because it can really slow them down and make them run really low on time. So that's fine. But do your best to not die with like pretty much full utility, because you're just throwing all that money away and you're giving utility over to the enemy side as well. So yeah, a lot of this, particularly on the T side, is going to come once we have more executes. But still, even without executes, again, it's Mirage. You should all know some smokes and should be able to cobble together a few executes. So yeah, so hopefully if we play Mirage again, we can be much more prepared and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all that I have to say for this video. So yeah, we should definitely work on utility, I think, for our upcoming matches.